Good morning, everyone. Shall I start, sir?
Yes, please go ahead, madam.
Analysis of IL exchange and a tertiary eye care center. No financial disclosure. The aim is to analyze the indications, complications, and surgical outcomes of IL exchange in a tertiary eye care center. As we know, cataract surgery is the most common intraocular procedure performed worldwide. Advances both in the evolution of power and refinement in technique has made it safe and predictable. Nevertheless, situations arise in which explantation or exchange might be required. The evolution in the posterior chamber IL designs have reduced the incidence of endothelial decompensation, which was associated with ACIVR and UGH syndrome, and changes in the biomaterials and manufacturing process have resulted in improvements, but calcifications are known to occur, and as a result, opacification have become a major cause of exchange also. Our methods included a retrospective case series of patients who underwent IL exchange during the period 2017 to 2020 in a tertiary eye care setup. Cases where the IL was repositioned or add-on IL, aphakic patients were excluded, so also patients with incomplete case records. And the data was obtained from the review of case records, and the demographic data was collected, and data analyzed include the indication, time interval, additional surgery, the IL types, the location and placement of the IL pre and post-operatively, and the complications. And the visual outcome was analyzed post-operative, uncorrected, and best corrected at POD 1 month, 6 months, and at final follow. The biometry was done using the optical biometer, and surgery was performed by 3 senior surgeons, and the approach was determined by the surgeon based upon the complexity of the case and his own experience. And the interventions were, it was placed in the bag when the bag was intact, and sulcus implantation if support was adequate, and if it was inadequate, suture fixation, skill fixated iris claw lens was done. Post-operatively, they received a short course of topical antibiotics and steroids in tapering doses for 1 month, and they were examined on the first post-operative day, 1 month, 6 months, and at the end of the final follow. The statistical analysis include the each time interval between the initial surgery and the exchange pre and post-op visual acuity values. The data were expressed as mean plus or minus standard deviation. All the data was represented in logMAR values after converting the Snellens to logMAR, and a PAT t-test was used, and a p-value less than 0.05 was considered significant. The results, 100 eyes of patients who underwent IL exchange for multiple indications, and the mean age group ranging from 50.73 plus or minus 19.2. There were higher proportion of males. And the common indication we found was decentered IL in 36%, subluxated in 26%, and opacified IL in 11%, and the exchange was done for myopic shift in 7%. And the duration ranged from, for decentered IL from 90.88 plus or minus 81.20, and the myopic shift had the longest duration from 140.57 plus or minus 63.13 months. And the commonest technique we found was 37% of iris claw lenses, and sulcus 3Ps in sulcus in 35%, and iris fixation in 14%, scleral fixated in 9%, and IL in bag in 5%. And the visual outcome for the cumulated group, the preoperative uncorrected visual acuity was 1.18 plus or minus 0.7, and best corrected was 0.74 plus or minus 0.67 logMAR units. On comparing the means with t-test, significant improvement of the mean BCVA by 0.43 plus or minus 0.36 logMAR unit from the preoperative to the final follow. And the complications, pre-operative risk factor was zonal lysis and vitreous in anterior chamber, and pre-existing PC dehiscence in 12%. And intraoperatively, 69 cases required an anterior vitrectomy, and post-operatively secondary glaucoma in 13%. Coming to the subgroup analysis, these were the in decentered IL, 36 cases, the mean age group was 49.14 plus or minus 20.37 years, and the commonest comorbidity was trauma followed by pseudoexfoliation, and there was a significant improvement of BCVA by 0.37 logMAR units. 26 cases subluxated with the mean age group ranging from 58.46 plus or minus 14.32 years, and PXF was the commonest comorbidity, and significant improvement of BCVA by 0.69. And 11 cases of opacified IL, and the surgery age group was 60.55 plus or minus 5.75 years, and significant improvement of BCVA by 0.66 logMAR units. Myopic shift, 7 cases were done, and they had the longest duration with the primary surgery to extend time was 140.57 plus or minus 63.13 months. And all cases 3Ps was implanted in the sulcus, and significant improvement of uncorrected by 0.76. As we know, IL exchange has been commonly performed previously. However, the indications in the mid-80s and 90s was due to corneal decompensation, UGH decentration, and subluxation. In subsequent decades, the indication has been changed. However, from the initial implantation, the consistent indication has been decentration. In our own cohort, decentration was the most commonest, followed by subluxation and IOL opacification. And the significant risk factor we have found was PXF, especially for the indications of IL exchange in our case series correlated well with the previous one, and 11 cases of opacified. Although data of initially implanted all IOL were not available, how hydrophilic IOL were the more common causes, and myopic shift in 7 cases. They had the longest duration greater than 10 years and significant improvement in both uncorrected and best corrected. This remains a testimonial for the benefit of IOL exchange even when done after a decade. Our case series had fewer cases of post-refractive surprise, and anterior vitrectomy was needed in more than half of the cases. And the secondary glaucoma was observed in 13%, followed by vitreous hemorrhage and CME. However, vision-threatening complication like endophthalmitis was not seen. As we are coming to the limitation, as with most retrospective studies, complete details were not available, and details of the IOL used in the initial IOL power also was unavailable for some referred cases, and follow-up period being not uniform makes it difficult to determine and compare the long-term stability and complications. In conclusion, it was effective in patients with opacification or dislocation, and the outcome can be expected, especially in cases with no ocular. Our case series showed good outcome irrespective of the technique with low rate of vision-threatening complications, and delay in intervention did not affect the final outcome. Thank you, sir. These are my references. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. Can we have some question answers, please?
Yes, sir.
Which technique did you use for the IOL explant? Did you enlarge the incision or you cut the IOL in the back?
No, sir. Usually, we try to dissect the IOL. If the haptics were difficult, the haptics were cut and left behind.
Okay, you didn't enlarge the incision, you did with the 2.8 mm incision? Or
No,
did you enlarge?
Most of the cases, we had iris claw implantation. So the section was mostly scleral.
More like an SICS, do you mean?
Yeah, because around 37% we had an SICS like.
Actually, basically, retrospective study, so maybe I think the technique may have been slightly different.
Yes, it was a retrospective case series, and surgery was done by 3 surgeons. So with the data analyzed, the most commonest we found was around iris claw implantation in 37% of cases out of the 100 cases.
So what was the incidence of change in astigmatism pre-op and pre and post-operatively after the surgery?
So that
what are the pre-op astigmatism and what are the post-op astigmatism after the exchange of the IOL?
No, that was not analyzed, sir. Only the best corrected thing by the